For the first 4 minutes, Jasmine Crockett didn't ask a single question. She simply sat in the hearing room, opened a folder, and calmly began reading numbers into the record. File 320, File 473, File 857, File 612, File 834. There were no accusations and no speeches, only page numbers, line references, and citations connected to the investigation involving Jeffrey Epstein. Across the table, Attorney General Pam Bondi watched quietly as Crockett placed those references into the record. For nearly 2 hours, the hearing had followed the typical pattern of political questioning and prepared responses. But Crockett took a different approach. Instead of debating, she read the documents like a prosecutor documenting evidence. Flight logs, phone records, witness observations, and calendar entries tied to Epstein's network. Each time the files moved closer to identifying individuals, the public versions of those records showed the same pattern. The names were redacted. When Crockett finally began asking questions, she focused first on Bondi's claim that the descriptions were misleading. Crockett calmly repeated the file numbers and asked one direct question: which file was misleading? The room grew quiet. Bondi spoke about the need for context and the complexity of investigations, but did not identify a single file. Crockett then asked why domestic flight records and financial logs were sealed under a national security classification, questioning what national security threat could come from travel records within the United States. The answer again centered on general explanations about classification and investigative procedures. Finally, Crockett turned to File 834, calendar records that documented 14 meetings with Epstein later confirmed by evidence such as flight logs and hotel receipts. In the public version of that file, the names were redacted, but in the version she reviewed, they were not. Crockett pointed out that these were not victim names or protected witnesses, but individuals who attended documented meetings, and she asked why none of them had been questioned by investigators. Bondi again spoke about investigative strategy and prosecutorial considerations. Crockett returned to her central point. If the file readings were not misleading, if the national security justification could not be clearly explained, and if the meeting attendees had never been questioned, then why were the records still sealed? She then closed the folder, leaving those 5 file numbers permanently in the congressional record, and the central question, which file was misleading, still unanswered.